You know that old saying, health is wealth. It's the kind of thing people stitch onto throw pillows or post on Instagram with a picture of a green smoothie. But let me tell you, until you've stood in a room worth $12 million and watched someone suffocate in a silk robe, you don't know what those words really mean. I'm talking about Evelyn Cross, the CEO of Vitality Systems, the woman who was on the cover of Forbes last month being hailed as the face of modern wellness, the woman who sold the world on the idea that if you just bought her software, you could live forever. But here's the thing about selling perfection: it's a full-time job hiding the cracks, and nobody sees the cracks quite like the person who sweeps up the debris. My name is Marcus Thorne, and 3 years ago, I was a ghost. That's what we call ourselves in the high-end cleaning business. We come in at 11 p.m. when the city is sleeping. We wipe away the wine stains and the fingerprints. We empty the trash that smells like expensive mistakes, and we disappear before the first latte is poured in the morning. I was working the night shift at the Pinnacle, this glass needle of a building in downtown Chicago that pierced the clouds, cleaning the penthouses for the people who literally looked down on the rest of us. It wasn't a dream job, but when you're a single dad with a 10-year-old daughter named Kiana who thinks you're a superhero, just because you keep the lights on, you do what you have to do. My wife, Sarah, passed away 4 years ago, lung cancer, nasty and fast, and since then, it's just been me and Kiki against the world, trying to stay afloat in a city that charges you for breathing. Evelyn Cross lived on the 55th floor, and let me tell you, her apartment was less of a home and more of a cryogenic chamber. Everything was white marble floors, white leather sofas, white orchids that I'm pretty sure were terrified to drop a single petal. It was sterile, cold, and quiet, the kind of quiet that hurts your ears. I'd let myself in every night, the only sound being the hum of my vacuum and the wind howling off Lake Michigan, rattling those floor-to-ceiling windows. For 6 months, I never saw her, not once. I just saw the remnants of her life: the perfectly organized vitamin supplements on the counter, the yoga mat that looked like it had never been touched, the fridge stocked with nothing but alkaline water and organic kale. She was a ghost too, just a much richer one. But then the winter hit, and Chicago winters don't mess around. The temperature dropped to 10 below. The wind chill was brutal, and that's when the routine broke. I was in the hallway, wiping down a mirrored console table that cost more than my car, when I heard it. It wasn't a normal cough. It wasn't a clearing my throat cough. It was a rattle, a deep, wet, jagged sound that seemed to scrape its way up from the bottom of someone's chest. It was coming from the master bedroom, behind the double mahogany doors that were always locked. I froze, rag in hand. My first instinct was to mind my business. Rule number 1 of being a ghost is you don't haunt the living. But then I heard a gasp, a desperate, thin intake of air that sounded like someone drowning. That sound triggered something in me, a muscle memory from the nights I sat by Sarah's hospital bed holding her hand while she fought for oxygen. I dropped the rag and walked to the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Miss Cross," I called out, my voice echoing in the empty hallway. "Miss Cross, is everything all right?" Silence. Then another fit, worse this time. Like rocks in a blender. "I'm coming in," I said, not asking for permission anymore. And I tried the handle. Locked. "Of course, Miss Cross, if you don't answer, I'm calling the concierge to open this door." "No." The voice was weak, strangled, but fierce. I'm fine. Go away." "You don't sound fine, ma'am. You sound like you need a medic." I said, "Go away. Just leave the towels and get out." She sounded terrified, not angry, and that scared me more than the anger would have. I stood there for a full minute, listening as the coughing subsided into wheezing sobs. I should have walked away right then. I should have finished the kitchen and clocked out. But I couldn't. I cleaned the rest of the apartment on autopilot, but my eyes were open now, really open. And when you start looking for cracks, you find them everywhere. It started with the little things. The next night, I found the guest bathroom window cracked open about 2 inches. Now, nobody opens a window in a Chicago high-rise in January unless they're trying to let something out. The heating bill alone would be insane. I closed it, but the next night, it was open again. Then there were the mints, not in a bowl for guests, but wrapperless, potent peppermints scattered in the trash cans, hidden under tissues, lodged in the sofa cushions. And the smell, it wasn't smoke, exactly, not like a dive bar. It was a sharp, chemical tang, like burnt sugar and ozone, masked heavily by layers of expensive lavender room spray. 2 weeks later, I was cleaning the study, a room filled with awards for innovation and health, and I moved a heavy bronze statue to dust underneath it. There, taped to the bottom of the statue base, was a small, sleek device, a vape pen, but not the gas station kind. This was high-tech, imported stuff, the kind that delivers massive hits of nicotine without the billowing cloud. Next to it was a small blister pack of something Japanese. I snapped a picture with my phone and translated it later. High concentration, nicotine lozenges, illegal for import without a prescription. I put it back, my hands shaking. The face of wellness, the woman telling the world how to breathe right, was secretly destroying her lungs. It made me sick, literally sick to my stomach. Because I remembered Sarah. I remembered how hard she tried to quit, how the addiction clawed at her even when she was dying. And here was Evelyn Cross, with all the money and resources in the world, playing Russian roulette with her life. I kept my mouth shut for another week, but the coughing got worse. I could hear it through the walls every night now. She was losing. Wait too, I saw her once in the hallway, passing like a phantom, her skin gray and papery, her eyes sunken. She looked at me like I was a piece of furniture and hurried into her room. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I was on the terrace, the sky deck, she called it, chipping ice off the railing, because the building management insisted it had to be pristine even in a blizzard. I saw something wedged behind the massive outdoor HVAC unit. It was a plastic bag, frozen stiff. I yanked it out. Inside were hundreds of spent cartridges. Hundreds. Black charred tips. It was a graveyard of addiction hidden on the roof of the world. I didn't put it back. I walked into the living room, bag in hand, just as the front door opened. Evelyn walked in, flanked by 2 assistants who were reading her schedule for the next day. She looked immaculate, hair perfect, makeup flawless, but the moment the door closed and the assistants left, she slumped against the wall like a marionette whose strings had been cut. She saw me. Then she saw the bag in my hand. Her eyes went wide, panic flashing like a strobe light. "What do you think you're doing?" she hissed, pushing herself off the wall, her voice turning into that CEO bark instantly. "Who gave you permission to snoop on my property?" "I wasn't snooping," I said, my voice steady, though my knees were knocking together. "I was cleaning. That's what you pay me for. To get rid of the trash." She walked over, snatching the bag from my hand with a grip that was surprisingly strong. "You're fired. Get your things. Get out. If you breathe a word of this to anyone, my lawyers will bury you so deep you'll need a map to find sunlight." "Go ahead," I said, and the calmness in my voice surprised both of us. "Fire me, sue me, but you and I both know that won't stop the cough." "I heard you, Evelyn. I hear you every night. You sound like a rattle in a tin can." She froze. "How dare you speak to me like that? You have no idea the pressure I'm under. You clean floors. I run a billion-dollar empire. I have thousands of employees depending on me. I have shareholders. I have to be perfect, every single second. Perfect." I laughed, a bitter, short sound. "Lady, you're not perfect. You're dying." My wife, Sarah, she had that same cough, exact same one. She hid it too, said she didn't want to worry me, said she had it under control. She smoked in the garage, chewed gum, sprayed perfume. We buried her 4 years ago. She was 34. Evelyn stared at me, her chest heaving, her knuckles white around that bag of poison. The anger in her face started to crack, revealing something raw and terrifying underneath. "I can't stop," she whispered, the confession tumbling out before she could catch it. "I've tried. God, I've tried. The anxiety, it eats me alive. If I don't have the nicotine, I shake. I can't focus. I can't lead. And if I admit it, if the world finds out the wellness queen is a chain smoker, the stock tanks, the company dies, I lose everything. You're going to lose everything anyway," I said, stepping closer. "You think that secret stays hidden when you're on a ventilator? You think your shareholders care about your lungs? They care about the bottom line. But you know who cared about Sarah's lungs? Me, her daughter. That's who. She looked away, trembling. It's too late. I'm too deep in. I just need to get through this quarter. Then I'll quit. I promise. Yeah, I said, picking up my bucket. That's what Sarah said. Just one more week. She never got that week. I walked toward the service elevator. I'll leave your key at the desk. You don't have to fire me. I quit. I can't watch another person kill themselves. It's too familiar. I left her standing there in the middle of her $12 million white tomb, clutching a bag of trash like it was gold. I went home, hugged Kiana so hard she complained I was squishing her, and started looking for a new job. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. But 3 nights later, my phone rang at 2 a.m., unknown number. I usually ignore those, but something in my gut, that instinct I used to have before life got in the way, told me to answer. Marcus. The voice was barely a whisper, just a breathless squeak. I can't. Then came the sound of a phone hitting the floor, and the unmistakable, terrifying noise of someone gasping for air and getting nothing. I didn't call the concierge. I didn't call 911 immediately, because I knew, I just knew, she'd blocked the door or instructed security to keep people out to hide her shame. I grabbed my keys, threw a coat over my pajamas, and drove like a maniac back to the Pinnacle. I still had the service code for the freight elevator. I burst onto the 55th floor. The door to her apartment was unlocked. She must have tried to get out and failed. I found her in the hallway, halfway between the bedroom and the kitchen. She was blue, literally blue. Her hands were clawing at her throat, eyes rolling back in her head, her body convulsing in a panic attack so severe it had triggered a bronchial spasm. Her airways had clamped shut. I didn't think about the lawyers. I didn't think about the job. I dropped to my knees, positioned her head back to open the airway, and checked for a pulse. It was thready, racing like a hummingbird. She wasn't getting oxygen. Evelyn, look at me, I shouted, slapping her cheek lightly to keep her conscious. Breathe with me, in through the nose, out through the mouth. You are panicking. Your lungs are seizing. You need to calm down or you are going to die right here on this marble floor. She stared at me, terror absolute in her eyes, grabbing my shirt with a grip of steel. She shook her head, gasping, turning redder, then purple. She was passing out. I grabbed her purse from the table, dumped it out. Inhaler. There had to be an emergency inhaler. Nothing, just mints and a gold lighter. Okay, I said, pulling her up. We're going to the hospital. Now. No, she wheezed, fighting me. Press, no press. To hell with the press, I roared, scooping her up in my arms. She was lighter than I expected. Frail, you die tonight. That's the headline. Wellness CEO found dead with a vape pen in her hand. Is that the legacy you want? She went limp in my arms, tears streaming down her face, and stopped fighting. I carried her into the freight elevator, bypassing the lobby, bypassing the doorman, straight to the garage. I threw her in the back of my beat-up Honda Civic, a car filled with my daughter's drawings and fast food wrappers, and I drove to her, holding her hand over the center console, telling her to squeeze every time she felt like she was fading. The drive to Mercy Hospital usually takes 20 minutes. I made it in 9. I pulled up to the emergency bay, tires screeching, and screamed for a gurney. When the nurses swarmed the car and saw who it was, because even in sweatpants and gasping for air, Evelyn Cross is recognizable, they froze for a split second before professionalism kicked in. I watched them wheel her through the double doors, her hands slipping out of mine. And then I was just a guy in a stained coat standing next to a dented car. Under the buzzing fluorescent lights of their entrance, I sat in that waiting room for 6 hours. I drank vending machine coffee that tasted like battery acid. I watched the sun come up over Chicago, turning the gray slush on the streets into gold for about 5 minutes. Before the gloom set back in, I thought about leaving. I wasn't family. I wasn't an employee. I was a liability. But I couldn't go. I needed to know she made it. I needed to know Sarah didn't die in vain. That maybe, just maybe, I could save this one. Round 8 a.m., a doctor came out. He looked tired. Family of Evelyn Cross. I stood up. I'm her friend, Marcus. He looked at me skeptically, then sighed. She's stabilized. Severe acute respiratory distress triggered by a panic attack and underlying chronic irritation. She's asking for you. I walked into her room. It was a private suite. Obviously, she was hooked up to oxygen. IVs in both arms, looking small in that big hospital bed. The makeup was gone. The armor was gone. She just looked like a scared woman in her 30s. She turned her head when I walked in. You stayed. She rasped. Her voice sounded like gravel. I stayed, I said, pulling a plastic chair up to the bed. Figured you needed a ride home since your security team probably thinks you were kidnapped. She tried to smile, but it faltered. The doctor told me my lungs look like I've been working in a coal mine for 20 years. He said if I had waited another hour, my heart would have stopped. I know, I said softly. Why did you come back? She asked, tears welling up. I fired you. I threatened you. I treated you like dirt. Because everyone deserves a chance to breathe, Evelyn. Even the people who think they're too important to need air. She closed her eyes, and the tears finally fell. I can't go back there. Marcus, the apartment, it's a trigger. Every corner of that place smells like secrets. If I go back, I'll start again. I know I will. Then don't go back, I said. Come to the south side. She opened her eyes, blinking. Excuse me, my mom has a guest room. It's not white marble. It smells like pine sol and my daughter's burnt toast. But it's real. Nobody there cares about your stock price. Nobody cares about your image. You need to detox, Evelyn. Real detox. Not a spa in Switzerland. You need to sweat it out somewhere where you can't order a new vape pen with a snap of your fingers. It was a crazy offer, insane. But she looked at me, looked at the sterility of the hospital room that mirrored her own life, and she nodded. Okay, the next month was hell. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Withdrawal is ugly. It's sweating, shaking, screaming, crying. Evelyn Cross, the billionaire, spent 3 weeks on a fold-out couch in Englewood, wearing my mom's oversized t-shirts. She threw up. She paced the floor at 3 a.m. She screamed at me to go buy her cigarettes. Offered me $10,000, $50,000, just for one pack. I sat by the door, arms crossed. No, I hate you. She'd scream. You're a janitor. You're nothing. Give me what I want. I'm the guy holding the key, I'd say calmly. And the answer is no. My daughter, Kiana, didn't know who she was. She just thought she was a sick friend. Kiana would come in after school and sit on the edge of the couch reading books to Evelyn while Evelyn shivered under 3 blankets. It's okay, Kiana would say, patting Evelyn's hand. My daddy fixes everything. He fixed my bike. He can fix you. That broke Evelyn. One afternoon, I found her crying while Kiana brushed her hair. I don't deserve this, Evelyn whispered to me later. I've lied to everyone. My whole life is a lie. So tell the truth, I said. I can't. Then you're still sick. On the 30th day, Evelyn put on real clothes. She looked thin, but her eyes were clear. The gray cast to her skin was gone. She stood in my kitchen, holding a cup of instant coffee like it was a chalice. I have a board meeting today, she said. They think I've been on a spiritual retreat in Bali. Are you going to tell them that? I asked. She looked at me, then at Kiana eating cereal, then at the simple, chaotic warmth of my kitchen. We drove back to the Pinnacle, but went straight to the boardroom. I stood in the back, leaning against the wall in my cheap suit. Evelyn walked to the head of the table. The board members, sharks in Italian wool, clapped. They told her she looked refreshed. They asked about the new product launch. Evelyn stood up. She took a deep breath, a clear, deep breath without a rattle. I have a confession, she said. The room went silent. For the last 10 years, while selling health to the world, I have been slowly killing myself. I am a nicotine addict. I have severe anxiety, and a month ago, I almost died on my bathroom floor because I was too ashamed to call for help. You could hear a pin drop. The stock price panic was palpable in the room. I am stepping down as CEO, she continued. I cannot lead this company with integrity until I have lived with integrity. I need to heal. And when I come back, if I come back, it will be as a human being, not a product. She walked out. She left a $12 million salary and a reputation of perfection on that mahogany table, We got into the elevator, and as the doors closed, she slumped against the wall, sliding down to the floor, laughing. Hysterically laughing. "Did you see their faces?" she gasped. Old Henderson looked like he swallowed a lemon. "You just tanked your net worth by about 40%, I said, grinning. "I don't care." She said, looking up at me, "I can breathe. Marcus, I can finally breathe." Epilogue. 6 months later, Evelyn didn't move back into the white penthouse. She sold it. She bought a brownstone in Lincoln Park, still expensive. She's not crazy, but it has color. It has mess. She started a foundation for high-functioning addiction, focusing on executives and professionals who hide their struggles behind success. I don't clean floors anymore. Evelyn hired me as the director of operations for the foundation. It pays better, and the hours let me see Kiana's soccer games. We're not together. It's complicated, but we have dinner every Sunday. Last week, we were sitting on her patio. She reached into her purse for gum, and for a split second, my heart stopped. Thinking it was a lighter, she saw my flinch. She pulled out a pack of gum, smiled, and tossed it to me. "Relax, Ghost. I'm done haunting myself. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. The question I want to ask you guys. Evelyn got saved because I broke the rules. I invaded her privacy. I kidnapped her to the suburbs. I forced her to face her demons. If I had just done my job, if I had just cleaned the ashtray and looked the other way, she would be dead right now, guaranteed. But did I have the right? We live in a world where we're told to mind our own business, to stay in our lanes. If you saw someone successful, someone powerful, destroying themselves in secret, would you risk your job to save them? Or would you let them rot in their golden tower because it's not your problem? Because let me tell you, saving someone is messy. It hurts. It almost cost me everything. And sometimes I wonder if the roles were reversed. If I was the one on the floor, would she have stopped for me? Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you have intervened? Or would you have just kept cleaning? Because the line between a hero and a nuisance is razor thin, and I'm still not sure which side I landed on. Thanks for listening. Stay real, stay healthy, and check on your strong friends. They're usually the ones drowning the fastest.